Ahoy! It's your boy. And if I sound a little sheepish, it's because I have to start off with I don't know, apology is probably not the right word for it, but I feel a little silly. Last week, I don't know what was wrong with me. Maybe I need my brain checked for a brain tumor, but I had all sorts of trouble last week making these recordings for you. And I got like 5 minutes into the first time and realized I wasn't even recording, and then I started again and thought everything was okay. And then when I finished recording, I realized that the mic I normally use wasn't even plugged in, or rather the settings on my recorder were all messed up, and I was recording with the internal microphone on my computer, and it sounded awful. And thankfully, excuse me, as I'm preparing to go to Taiwan, I've been thinking about how am I going to record this while I'm over there. And I remember I have this little lavalier microphone that I can plug into my smartphone. And thankfully I had that running in the background. So, the audio is not perfect, but it's better than my internal microphone. So I was able to do something with that. But I also realized after I uploaded the entry that it actually is not my last one. I was actually going to record one more before I leave. So yeah, 1,000 mistakes last week. And, but that's okay. I'm actually leaving for Taiwan in almost exactly 24 hours. My flight's it's actually Saturday today. Normally I record these on Sundays, but my flight is tomorrow at about 12:20 my time, and I lose a day, and I get into Taiwan at about 6:30 at night on Monday in Taiwan time. So, needless to say, I am super excited. I was going to say I'm going to spend today packing, but really packing takes me about 20 minutes. I don't know how long it takes other people to pack, but it's really not that big of a deal, right? You just throw a week's worth of clothes in a suitcase and throw your toiletries in there, and maybe make sure you pack some carry-on stuff like a book or something. But other than that, there's really not much that you need. It's just the psychological comfort of like letting go of your domicile and leaving the things here that you aren't going to need. I mean, I feel like when I went to Middlebury 2 summers ago and was in Taiwan over the summer, you tend to overpack. You think you're going to need all this stuff, and you just don't need it, whether it's this type of clothing or that type of clothing. And at the end of the day, if you're going to be somewhere for about 3.5 months, most of the things that you might need, you can find. It's not like I'm just going away for a week. I'm going to be living there for a little bit of time. So, yeah, anything I don't pack, I'll be able to take with me. But yeah, it's both very exciting and very surreal that the time is nigh and that I'm leaving tomorrow, and that, in just a short amount of time, I'll be in Taiwan. It's been a lot of buildup leading up to this. And I was saying the previous 2 weeks, it was just, I was getting more and more excited. But then at the top of last week, I don't know, I started to feel a little down in the dumps. And part of it is the weather here. The weather here has been awful, rainy and overcast. And, a little bit of that is okay. But after a while, I just start to feel, especially not having to work and not having a lot of structure, now that everything's taken care of, I just felt kind of trapped inside my place. And of course, I'm watching movies, and maybe we'll talk about some of the stuff I've seen recently. And doing some reading. I finished Lord of the Rings, by the way. Like I said, the ending is very protracted, and I also have since, over the course of the week, I watched all of the movies again, which actually do a really good job of kind of cutting out all the bits that actually, are a little... tedious may not be the right word, but they do distract from the kind of straightforward narrative. There's a lot of, kind of side encounters and quests and kind of things that happen in the books that, while fine for the immersive experience of reading a novel, obviously don't make sense for a movie. And so a lot of times when you see a filmed version of a book, the book is always better. And, it actually reminds me of the conversation we had about video games, which is, I was talking about The Witness, Jonathan Blow's video game, The Witness, which, again, it's hard for me to articulate what he said exactly, but he said one of his disappointments of people who are video game designers is that they don't really seem to have a grasp of what video games do especially well. And they often approach video games trying to make them like movies. And I think that the sort of the masters of each medium kind of have to determine, or can kind of articulate to us what they think each medium does particularly well. But that comment has always kind of sat in my mind. And especially when I revisit his games, try to just consider, what is this game accomplishing that a movie simply can't? And wow, I didn't even think we were going to talk about this, but as I'm playing The Witness again, you do realize that it's just kind of a world to sit in. And obviously, books have a certain intrinsic, like, forward-moving momentum, right? The pace is, obviously a novelist will try to create excitement and momentum with the action of the story, but it does kind of have a built-in pace to it, which is just the speed that you read at. As fast as you read, the novel moves forward. There's no marinating or sitting in a single scene. You can't draw that experience out, or that experience doesn't oscillate depending on who's reading it. I mean, outside of their reading skill level. Like, some of us may stumble over certain words and have to go to a dictionary, or some people just read faster, or whatever the case may be. But that we're all essentially having the same temporal experience. To read Lord of the Rings takes it may take longer if you take breaks in between, but I mean, most people will spend about the same amount of time with a novel. They will clock the same amount of time reading a novel. Same thing with movies. Of course, you can punctuate it and watch it over a couple of days, but the amount of hours you will invest in watching the film itself is going to be identical for most people. In a way, it's kind of, for some reason, I'm thinking of like a roller coaster. When that safety harness comes down, most people are going to get the same ride. But as I'm playing The Witness again, I realize, this is interesting, because this can be a completely different experience, or your experience inside this world is entirely contingent on who's playing it. Certain people are going to struggle with certain puzzles more than others. People are going to, especially in a world where you can just kind of walk around, you can go to any area you wish. Some people may decide to spend a whole lot of time in one area, but they can get frustrated and go somewhere else. And also, I mentioned this element, which I feel like I've hit it in a number of conversations, so I don't need to belabor the point anymore. But movies don't expand based on your observations. A game can be a world where there are entire areas that are unobserved or discovered. And I guess it's not really until you have a designer or a creator who is aware of that, who can implement those things. Maybe, I don't know if theory is the right word, but they can implement those things into their game design, where they can really kind of push the genre forward. And I think this is what I mean when I say, like, in my experience, I think Jonathan Blow takes the video game and raises it to the level of high art. It's somebody who kind of sees deeper into the medium. Whereas, I mean, in a way, I was thinking, I saw this sort of clip, or I have seen it repeatedly. For some reason, Instagram just keeps kind of regurgitating it to me, but it's something I've been thinking about. It's this short clip of Ethan Hawke. Is that, am I saying his name right? For some reason, I'm conflating like Ethan Hawke and Howard Hawks. It's Ethan Hawke, but he's the actor from Training Day and Dead Poet Society and Before the Devil Knows You're Dead and yada yada yada, and just a shit ton of movies. And he's never really struck me as like an incredible actor. He always seems to kind of be doing about the same thing, which is this kind of endearing, kind of boyish kind of thing. Like, for example, when I think of Training Day, he's the kind of optimistic young recruit who's kind of put in an impossible circumstance, and we kind of, he's kind of the lens of the audience. How would the average person, the everyman, kind of react in a moment like this? Idealistic, maybe a little bit. And then I'm also thinking of his role in Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, which, by the way, we have touched on Philip Seymour Hoffman. I don't know that a lot of people have seen that movie, but that's a very, very good movie. And it's actually kind of interesting because Philip Seymour Hoffman and Ethan Hawke are brothers, which strains credulity a little bit because they look nothing alike. However, they play brothers who go in together on this. They're both facing certain financial troubles, and Philip Seymour Hoffman maybe a little bit more. but they both decide that the perfect heist, the perfect way to steal money, would be to rob their parents' jewelry store. And let's just say that it doesn't go as planned. And yeah, it's just one of these. It's a really great thriller and really well acted. Marissa Tomei is also in it, and she does incredibly well in that. But the point of that is Philip Seymour Hoffman is the more maniacal, willing to get his hands dirty type of character, and Ethan Hawke is the kind of, good guy with a good heart who makes a bad choice, and he's sort of cracking under the pressure and that sort of stuff. But anyway, I'm sort of going off the rails here. The point is that Ethan Hawke is not, I don't know, he's just never, if you told me to list, maybe even the top 20 actors that I can think of, I'm not really sure he would come to mind. However, this clip that I see is him in a kind of inside the actor's studio type situation. And he makes this observation, which I have to think about more. But he said, so much of film school is focused on cinematography. And when I think about that as someone who's shot a ton of videos and as someone who's a big fan of film and sees a lot of the kind of, the video essay is kind of like the de facto form of commentary and expression these days. And there's an entire, genre on YouTube of, probably people who are like me, where they're sort of cinema fans and they have a lot of thoughts. I mean, basically what I'm doing is just sort of regurgitating the same types of thoughts into this microphone. But people will create video essays and, they'll pick a certain filmmaker or a certain a certain film, and they'll just sort of kind of talk about why it's special or what they notice about it. And that's all well and good. But when you look at filmmakers, so much of the content on YouTube that's generated for them is about cameras and lenses and cinematography and lighting and framing. And Ethan Hawke says, it's sad to him that most of film school is focused on cinematography when really it should be focused on acting. And he makes this observation that the best directors in history were all actors. Now, I don't know that that's true. I mean, he names people like Laurence Olivier and Orson Welles. But that just, it seemed like a little bit of bias on his part. But why am I bringing this up? We were talking about Jonathan Blow. We were talking about The Witness, talking about the intrinsic, understanding the medium. I don't know. I can't really think of the connection that I was trying to make, except maybe something about so much of film seems to be centered around the image quality. Whereas I think when you're actually watching a really good movie, or maybe I mentioned this way, like when you watch a movie like Lord of the Rings, and I forget what movie I may have mentioned previously, maybe the Marvel movies or something like that, they are technically perfect films, meaning they're shot at the highest fidelity, 8K, maybe 30 to 60 frames per second. The color grading is immaculate. The special effects are the best that money can buy. They're at the vanguard of what is technically possible with movies. And yet they don't really grab us all of the time. Now, of course, millions of people love that kind of stuff. But I mean, for people who are really looking for something substantive, who need something a little more sumptuous to sort of sink their teeth into when they're watching a movie, those movies don't really grab you. They feel kind of vacuous. The fact that they're just kind of superficial is glaringly obvious for most people who, are kind of attuned to what, really good movies are capable of doing. Whereas I watched this movie the other day called Past Lives. And I think a lot of people were kind of, celebrating this movie. And by the way, as soon as it started, I realized all of the great movies that are coming out now are from A24. Am I right? I mean, we spent some time talking about The Curse, which was a co-production with A24 and Showtime, and the Safdie brothers. I think maybe Good Time was originally their own production company. I think it's called like Arada, or I forget what it's called. But I know that Uncut Gems is A24, and I'd be very surprised if their next film wasn't. And Ari Aster's movies are all on A24 and all that sort of stuff. So it's interesting, like in the early 2000s, Focus Features was like the kind of or at least one of the sort of film houses that was making all of the quote serious films. A24 has really kind of stepped up as doing all the good stuff. Sean Baker also, I think all of his films are on A24. But the point I was driving at was what? Oh, I saw this film, Past Lives. It's a very beautiful movie. Like Minari, I think a lot of people have talked about it as if it's a foreign film, but I think both filmmakers are actually Korean American, and since they're made through A24, I think they're, you would technically call them American films. Although, like, Minari, I would say even more of it maybe 95% of the film is in Korean. Past Lives, maybe 75 to 80% of the film is in Korean. They're American films, but Past Lives is this really beautiful movie about a woman who's born in Korea, maybe lives there till she's about, I don't know, 10 or 11 or so, immigrates to, I think at first Canada, and then goes to school in the United States, marries an American man. But, the film sort of begins with her first crush, her first love, if you want to, I put that in quotes, but, her first real romantic connection is with a young boy her own age. And the movie is just about how they're kind of connected throughout their lives and have reconnected at certain points. And, the fact that this woman is living this other life and has settled down and married someone, and yet there's just this enduring connection with this boy that she knew in Korea. And, the tension of the film is, what life is possible between these two. Is their romance going to be rekindled? And it sounds like a very simple thing. Like, how do you hang a movie on this? But the thing that it does so well and what it does so important is, yes, it's shot beautifully. I don't know what it was shot on. Some of it looks like it might be film. Some of it might be digital. And yes, the cinematography is great and all that stuff. But the reason that it's great is because it tells a wonderful story. So many of the shots and so many of the best moments of that movie hang entirely on silence and the look between two people and what they're not saying. And I sort of lost the plot with what Ethan Hawke was saying, but the thing I'm trying to say is that although it's important that film look a certain way, it has to all be in service of the story that you're telling. And so although everything is technically great with Past Lives, the reason it actually succeeds is because it is entirely focused on the story that it is telling. It's not trying to stun you. There's no great camera movements or something like that. Like when you think there's a movie called Children of Men, which a lot of people have sort of celebrated. I've never thought it was really great. But I think one of the reasons that it endures is because people who like film love this protracted sequence that happens at the end where it's a single shot. And that's kind of cool. And it's certainly a technical accomplishment, and it's the type of thing that people can sort of look at and be impressed by. But, maybe this is not the best example because you actually think, maybe there is a reason to use an uncut shot because you want to make this kind of immersive experience in this. It's like this long shootout chase kind of escape sequence or something like that. And yeah, maybe there's something to that. But, there's just a lot of choices that are made, I think, sometimes because they're technically cool, but, it's not really like, is the story being served in that way or in the best way? I saw somebody who actually compared, I've talked about, and his name escapes me right now. I feel stupid. But he's the filmmaker who did Force Majeure and Triangle of Sadness. And I saw one of these video essays where somebody compared the Force Majeure is about this husband and wife and two kids who go on the skiing vacation. And as in sort of the first 15, 20 minutes of the film, as they're sort of sitting at the ski lodge, there's an avalanche. And inexplicably, when the avalanche hits the ski lodge, the dad grabs his phone and runs away from the table and abandons his family. And the dust from the avalanche settles and everybody's okay. Nobody was hurt. It was just a very scary moment where, it looked like it was impending disaster, but nobody was harmed. And the dad has to sort of sheepishly walk back to his family. And the rest of the movie is the wife trying to untangle and approach and kind of probe this moment where her husband, in a moment of panic where he should have protected his family, was entirely focused on himself. And the film doesn't ever really give you any clear answers. Like, why did he grab his phone? Like, it sort of hints at, is there a chance he's having an affair? But and the movie does a lot of wonderful things besides. We don't have to go into all those. I just highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. But the film kind of breaks. There was also an American remake that was done, which I haven't seen, with what's her name? Julia Louis Dreyfus. I forget the middle part. Julia Louis Dreyfus. I don't know, the girl from Seinfeld, and Will Ferrell. And I think it was called like Snow Day or Snowbound. I forget what the fucking movie's called. It's I haven't seen it, but it clearly looks awful. And it's this kind of like, it takes this very serious, contemplative, thoughtful, kind of a tourist film that's a very deep kind of probing of relationships and especially masculinity, or the performance of masculinity, and how, and sort of really male fragility, when you, like, what men are really capable of, or how disappointing men can actually be, versus, the sense of themselves they try to project to the world. And it does this really good job of showing different examples of the types of performative masculinity, but also counterpoints it with the type of, like, what is a real man who can, in the realest sense, someone who is both in touch with their feelings, but can also step up and sort of be a protector when they have to, in this kind of very interesting sort of foil or counter character to the male lead, who sort of presents themselves later in the movie. But also really the burden that women have to bear inside relationships when they're dealing with the fragility of the male ego. Anyway, I sound like a grad student or something like that, but it's a very good film that you have to see. But why am I talking about that? Oh, this video essay kind of breaks down how both films deal with filming that sequence of the avalanche. And in Force Majeure, it happens in a static, wide shot at a little bit of distance, where the family is not even like in the center of the frame. They're obviously the focus. It's sort of compositionally, so you're aware that they're there and you're watching what they do, but they're also surrounded by people who are also in focus and you can look at, and it's very well blocked. And it's just a static shot that you watch, and all the action takes place. And in a way, if you don't watch it multiple times, there's a lot going on that you might miss. Like, for example, when you watch it the first time, you may not see that the husband grabs his phone, and all sorts of stuff. But, you have to think that in a single shot, a director has done more for the story and for the characters and for the world that they're creating than this sort of counterexample in the American-made version, where it's just filmed like a typical scene where there's close-ups and there's quick cuts and, there's singles and then there's wide shots. And, I think there's the video essay says in the same sequence, there's like 22 cuts or maybe even more that happen in this single scene versus one that was shot in a single take. And while one is more technically involved and, has more going on technically, the one that does less actually accomplishes more. And I think the same thing is true of Past Lives. When you watch that movie, nothing about it wows you with the cinematography. There's no crazy crane shots or something like that. It's all very subtle. And, some of the most beautiful moments in the film, like I remember when the Korean woman and her sort of, boyfriend from years ago comes to visit her in New York City where she's living. They're walking below the Brooklyn Bridge, which is an area I've actually been to. There's like a very famous park there. It has a carousel and all that sort of stuff. And they're just kind of walking along, and they're just kind of at the bottom of the frame at a great distance. And most of the frame is just filled with the environment and other people. And obviously their conversation and the audio is front and center, so kind of where they're at. But it's just, a single kind of wide tracking shot that just sort of follows them. And it just does, it just does wonders for creating this kind of like immersive world that these two people live in. And also, it sort of subtly, psychologically suggests that although these people are the center of the story that we're focusing on, this is all happening in New York City, one of the most densely populated places in the United States. And while we're focusing on their story, it's also the case that there are a million stories happening just like this all the time around them. And so it's this sort of interesting dual, like macro, micro sort of exploration of these people's lives. In the grand scheme of things, you're constantly reminded that it doesn't really matter. And yet when we zoom in on, when we pick two people out of this um, collage, this pastiche. Well, now we're really using the grad school language. This Americana pastiche of romantic life. It's this sort of kaleidoscopic sort of thing sort of happens. And actually, when I think about force majeure, you could probably say that the same thing is happening as well. When you're watching that sort of wide shot of the avalanche happening, it's not just happening to this one family. You're seeing all of the people who are sitting on the deck of the ski lodge are in frame and in focus, and you could rewind the scene 100 times and watch a different person or a different couple or a different family each time, and you would have the exact same experience. The only reason that we're focused on the one couple who, visually there's nothing special about them is because we know who they are. And in a way, I think it also communicates the same thing, which is, there's a lot going on in this moment, but we're just going to sort of bias ourselves to this one family because that's who we're sort of prejudiced to, attuned to. But again, it's this sort of, I don't know. It's just interesting that you can, with one shot, you can create multi-dimensional things versus, cutting and fast cuts and all that sort of stuff. So what am I saying? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe just to sort of tie this up about video games is, I've never played a lot of these kind of war shooter games like Call of Duty or Grand Theft Auto and all that sort of stuff, but they have a lot going on. And, I don't want to yuck anyone's yum, but, obviously a lot of people like those video games. And yet I think most people who come to the Witness would probably play it, and there's really not a lot going on, ostensibly. You're just walking around solving the same types of puzzles. You just encounter these panels that are kind of grid maze type things that you draw lines through and have to solve. And yet it's probably the most profound game I've ever encountered. And there seems to be a story in there. Obviously, there's an island, and there's the remnants of a material culture that lived there that is both at once kind of primitive but also futuristic. And it seems to suggest a story to you, but it never explicates itself. It just kind of is there for you to see or not, or to spend time with or not. Again, you can just go through the game and solve the puzzles, and you've beaten the game, and you've had your experience, and that's fine. And yet the thing that a video game can do is, especially when it's designed as well as The Witness, is you can spend as much time looking at something as you want. You can walk over to an area and, just kind of walk around a tree you want. Or if you find an interesting statue, you can just kind of walk around and see it. And so, yeah, maybe not to belabor the point, but it's just interesting to think about if you're an artist, are there intrinsic things that your medium can do that are not being exploited, that can help you kind of tell your story, but also give a unique experience to the person who's interacting with it. So, yeah, maybe just to kind of connect it to movies or something, there's a lot of people who design video games who are just trying to make them cinematic. They're trying to make them movies. But, is that really the best that games can do, or can they do something else entirely? I mean, as I'm trying to think about it, I mean, a movie, a symphony, is there, and if you take video games as being potentially high art, I don't know that there's any other creative medium I can think of where you can have as individualistic an experience, right? Like I said, I mean, people bring themselves to whatever they look at. So somebody can look at a piece of art and, have some sort of personal connection with it that's entirely predicated on their personal story and their history. Same thing with music or films. And also people just have certain preferences. But I'm trying to think, is there anything else that you can live in and have as unique an experience as a video game? And it's just interesting to think about as we're on the cusp of, a kind of meta universe with like, maybe one thing to say is, I was, excuse me, as I'm stifling burps here. But as I'm leaving for Taiwan, I was thinking, I mentioned that I want to do some vlogging and shooting video, and also how am I going to continue doing this sort of personal journal. The sort of intimidating thing was, how was I going to handle media? If I'm shooting video, do I just buy a bunch of memory cards, or how am I going to store stuff? And then also editing. Am I really going to come back and just spend the next 2 months editing the footage together? Well, I actually decided, when I go to grad school anyway, I'm not going to have my desktop computer. I'm going to have to buy a laptop. So I just ended up buying one now. And although that was an expenditure, I admit I was very smart about how I did it, which is, of course, you can look at the newest Apple MacBook Pros and get the M3 and sort of max it out and get whatever you want. But I have found when you look at like benchmark testing for a lot of these computers, although, when you look at the specs, they seem to be very different. Like when you look at how many cores or how much RAM or this or that between like, the Apples that came out 4 years ago and the latest ones, although on paper there are differences, when you actually see, like, go on YouTube and look at benchmark testing where people actually try to quantify, what kind of difference does this make? It's exceptionally negligible. I currently my desktop computer is like an Intel Mac from 2017. Now the new Macs use this. I think they're silicone. I think this kind of M chips that they use now are silicone. That is a fundamental shift in technology, which makes a huge difference. So anyway, long story short, what I did was I got like it's ostensibly new, but it's refurbished. Maybe there was something wrong with it when someone bought it. Apple takes it back, sort of fixes it, and you can go to refurbished Apple and get a bunch of old stuff. But you get a very comparable computer that does essentially the same thing, and it's like $1,000 cheaper. So if you're in the market for a computer, I would highly encourage you, rather than just getting the latest and greatest, go to refurbished and just get something that's comparable. Like, for example, the benchmark testing that they do, especially if I'm going to be handling video, maybe even shooting in 4K, although I've since decided I'll probably stick to 1080. When they do this benchmark testing with like how these computers handle video, between the M1 MacBook Pros from like 3-4 years ago and the brand new ones, there's maybe a couple seconds difference in like rendering times and that sort of stuff. Which is good. I mean, technology needs to move forward. That's, it's going to move at the pace that it moves. But for most people, is that going to be worth $1,000? No. How about you save $1,000 and just spend 2 more seconds on the export for your computer, right? So anyway, yeah, I ended up getting a laptop I think I got a model that now would probably sell for like $2,500, and I saved about $1,500 on the computer. So, but where was I going with that? I know that's, yeah. So I think, although I'll have to use a different mic and I'll have to use that lavalier mic, I still think I'll have most of what I need to continue the personal journal. I'm going to be doing a lot of, I'm telling myself I'm going to be doing a lot of filming and doing some video editing while I'm in Taiwan. But why did I bring that up? We were talking about video games. Why did I switch to computers? Can't remember. Oh, well, that's probably just a sign that it's time to change topics anyway. I will say I had this kind of new frustration that has arisen. And in a way, it was kind of a little more devastating because it happened on the heels of like buying this computer, which is, I mean, it's a great investment. I'm like I said, my computer is about 7 years old now, so it's probably about time to upgrade anyway. Not that there was any problems with my last computer per se. I had some problems with the external stuff recently, and I had to reinstall the operating system. But it seems to be working, as good as brand new. So there's a lot of life in it yet. In a way, it's sort of like my truck. Like sometimes I beat myself up over like, oh, you're going to Taiwan and you're buying a laptop or whatever the case may be. I feel like I'm putting my money in a pile and burning it. But, overall, I'm a very, I live my life pretty frugally. I've lived in the same place for the last 16 years. I probably pay less in rent than anybody I know. I've had the same truck for the last 22 years now. And I think about I went to Target recently and had to get some socks and underwear for my trip. And I realized as I was there, because I ended up buying the wrong socks, had to go back the next day and return them. But as I was standing there in Target returning stuff, I realized every single piece of clothing that I have is from Target. I was literally wearing Target socks, Target pants, Target underwear, Target shirt, and I was returning stuff. So as I was going up, I went back upstairs and was looking at new socks and even trying on some other shirts. I was like, if someone watching the security camera didn't see me walk in, they would assume that I was walking out like stealing clothes that I was trying on. But it was just kind of an embarrassing thing to be standing in Target and realizing, oh, they could just pay me to be a fucking mannequin for Target. They could just have me stand there, strike a pose, and I would literally be modeling the clothes that they sell. I'm a walking billboard for Target, which, I think what I really need is a stylist. Because, I don't know, it's weird, buying clothes off the rack, every once in a while you find something that fits, really well and is really flattering. But for the most part, this stuff is just it's made to fit as many bodies as possible. And, sometimes I'll see these videos, literally just yesterday, I was looking up a video, how to roll up your sleeves. Because I bought this kind of long sleeve shirt, and although it looks fine, I wanted to roll up the sleeves, but I was kind of having that thing that most guys will probably understand, which is when you're rolling up long sleeve shirts on a dress shirt or a denim long sleeve thing. I don't know, like a casual, but kind of a dress style shirt. You can get that real tight sleeve and it's all fucked up and you just don't know. I feel like there's got to be a guy who has a YouTube channel who can show you the right way to roll up your sleeve. So I was looking at that stuff. But you also tend to see these videos too, where it's how to dress for your body and all these types of things that I bought this sweater about 6 months ago. And although it's really comfortable, I realize it feels good, but it's actually too big. And when I catch myself in the mirror sometimes wearing it, I go, this thing hangs all wrong. I actually probably look worse. I should be buying something that may feel a little bit tighter, but it actually hugs my frame and actually shows, what my physique is versus this kind of baggy thing that actually kind of makes you look bigger. So it's I buy clothes off the rack all the time, but I don't know if I'm hurting myself or helping myself. Because some things may be comfortable, but you think from a stylistic point, I really need someone to say, for example, you watch these shows like Queer Eye for the, well, actually I think they just call it Queer Eye now. They used to call it Queer Eye for the straight guy. But when you watch Queer Eye and stuff, sometimes you'll have these people who are kind of been alone for too long, they're kind of zoftig and they really could use a makeover. And when they're in, they're in the store with the guy who's the sort of, we'll just call him a stylist. I don't know what you call him. He has them try on things that they would never wear themselves. He says, hey, wear the tighter jeans, wear the slim jeans, and all that sort of stuff. And it's things that they would never put on themselves. But when they actually try it on and look at themselves in the mirror, they realize they look 1,000 times better. So I feel like I need something like that. I do all my shopping by myself, but it's I can't really trust my own judgment. I'm the guy who styled his hair as a Wolverine flat top when I was in 7th grade because I thought it looked good. I looked in the mirror and I said, hey, this is me. I had no idea how fucking silly I looked. I mean, I remember one day getting my hair cut, going home and styling how I styled it, which was this crazy flared up Wolverine looking flat top. And I was just walking out the door and my mom was coming home from school and she just stops in her tracks and looks at me and goes, whoa, what's up with the hair? And I was like, what? I literally thought I looked great. And it was only 5 years later where I realized, oh, my hair was fucking insane. I used to joke, I've obviously lost my hair now and I shave it. But I was I might as well, because even when I had hair, I had no fucking clue what to do with it. I mean, I even look back on pictures of me when it's I wore it short for years and years and years. I mean, I think I first, quote, shaved my head when I was maybe 19 or 20 or something like that. And I've always worn it short since then. But even then, I didn't realize how receded my hairline was. I mean, I remember being 22, and my friend at the time, we had a girl who was a mutual friend of all ours. She pointed out to me and my brother, he's like, well, you have receding hairlines. And I had no fucking clue. And of course, I look back on photos and I go, oh, I had a fucking majorly receded hairline, even in my early 20s. But for years, even up to about 32 or something like that, I would still wear my hair. It was short, but it was a little bit longer than it should have been. So I just had this, like, I think I heard Joe Rogan one time saying he had sad hair for a long time. And I realized I had the same thing. It was just thin, and like it would have been much better if I had just shaved it like I do now. But that's the kind of world I'm living in, where I don't really see myself, you know? So, yeah, what am I saying here? I was really about to talk about this nightmare experience I had with Shanghai, and I sort of got diverted into making fun of my physical appearance. But yeah, I need a stylist is what I'm saying. I need a makeover. I need a Queer Eye makeover. But the thing I was really about to talk about was this sort of frustration. I talk about, I buy a laptop. It seemed like one of those things where I just kind of put my money in a pile and I'm burning it, which is, I probably mentioned that, you know, during my time leading up to Taiwan, I was like, oh, I should go to Shanghai and visit, since I might be going to graduate school there. I should go and see Shanghai before I move there for 2 years. But I had actually kind of talked myself out of it, thinking, well, I'm not going to know if I'm accepted into Fudan University until, you know, my time in Taiwan is sort of ending. And it's going to be difficult for me to go away from class and all that sort of stuff. But 2 weeks ago, I was in therapy kind of talking about this. And my therapist was kind of like, well, look, your priority in Taiwan is not going to be class. It's going to be having a good time. It doesn't seem like your grades matter that much. And although I'm not going to tell you to blow school off, if you can find a way to get away, it's, you know, even if you get accepted to Fudan, if you go to Shanghai and you're like, oh, I absolutely fucking hate this place, that's going to be a good, it'll be worth the investment to have visited and see the city and get a sense if you're going to enjoy it, rather than, you know, because at the end of the day, you could go and not like it and leave, right? If I get accepted to graduate school and go, I could go to Shanghai and I could still leave, but that's going to be a much harder, thing to back out of than if I know going into the experience that I'm either very excited to return and live there for at least 2 years, or to figure that out when I don't like it when I get there, right? However, so anyway, what I should say is I decided, okay, great, yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm gonna take 1 week while I'm in Taiwan, and I'm gonna go to Shanghai. And I sort of looked around and I started watching some of these travel videos. And I said, man, Shanghai looks incredible. I'm really excited to go. And I start looking. I realize I need a visa to get into China from Taiwan, which is, it's really bizarre, right? Like if you watch the news now, Xi Jinping is very adamant that there will be a reunification between what they call mainland China and Taiwan. And China is adamant that Taiwan is a part of China. And yet, they certainly don't treat it that way, because you need a visa to get to and from there. But I don't want to step on the sort of surprise that was in store for me in terms of how this plays out for traveling. But I sort of went on the San Francisco has everything, right? So there's a Chinese consulate in San Francisco. So I download their visa application form and I fill it out and all that sort of stuff. But I realized, oh, this is probably going to take too long to process. I had assumed, since it took me 2 weeks to get my visa for Taiwan, that it would take at least that long to get my visa for China. So I had sort of abandoned that process. You know, I said, I'll just sort of get the documentation in order, and I will take care of this when I go to Taiwan. I will go to the China consulate or visa office and just have this taken care of as soon as I get to Taiwan. However, on Tuesday of this week, as I'm sort of clicking around and sort of looking into this stuff, I did 2 things. When I look at the application, there's these forms that say, like, what is your flight number? What is your hotel? And I thought, I don't want to fuck around when I get to Taiwan. I want to have all this stuff taken care of. So what I'll do is I'll go online and I'll book a plane ticket and I'll book a hotel and I'll get things that I can cancel or are refundable or take a minimal loss on in the event that it doesn't work out. But let me just get all of my affairs in order so that when I fill out the visa application, I'm going to make it as easy for them as I possibly can to just sort of let me go through, right? So I buy the plane ticket, I buy the hotel, I got all my affairs in orders, I complete the documentation, and as I said, well, I should really look and see where the offices for the China consulate are in Taipei. Lo and behold, I come to learn that China has no consulate offices in Taiwan. Absolutely none. And when I start looking, well, which is devastating for me. And when I start thinking, well, how do Taiwanese people get into mainland China? Like when I was in Taiwan, when I was in Taipei last summer, the father of the host family I was staying with, who I only met once, he like owned a factory in Shanghai and would fly between Taipei and Shanghai all the time. So obviously travel between the two places is doable. I was like, if there's no visa office, how do Taiwanese people get into mainland China? And I was able to find some information on that. Like Taiwan has some travel agencies and things for people who hold Taiwanese visas. But I hold a U.S. passport, obviously. And if I were if I were to go to the visa office here, that process is very straightforward. But since there are no consulate offices in Taiwan, it was looking to me like I think what a lot of U.S. Passport holders have to do is they actually have to go through the China consulate offices in Hong Kong, which meant I would have to fly to Hong Kong, go to the consulate, apply for a visa, and ostensibly just wait in Hong Kong for like a couple days until the visa was processed, assuming there were no hiccups, by the way. If they needed anything else, I may have to provide that and then wait a little bit longer. But I would just have to go to Hong Kong to get my visa. And then either, maybe fly directly to Shanghai or fly back to Taiwan until it's time for me to take my trip to China. And I thought, that's fucking insane. I mean, if I had to do it, I would seriously consider it. I mean, if anything, you could sort of spin it as like an excuse to visit Hong Kong. Although I've never really had any compulsion to go there, I would certainly try to make the best of the circumstances. However, I just found, actually through a video blog that somebody had posted on YouTube, he was a German traveler who was flying into China. And when he landed, he said, "Oh, I've arrived here without a visa." And I was like, how the fuck is this going to play out? It turns out that China, or actually not all of China, certain cities in China, major cities like Shanghai, Beijing, maybe Guangzhou and Chengdu and places like that, I think. Certainly Beijing and Shanghai, I'm sure some others, have a 144-hour no visa layover type thing, which is if you are flying onto a third country, you can enter certain municipalities within China for 144 hours, which is, I think it's 6 days. You can make fun of me if I'm wrong, but I think that's 6 days. And so now I'm thinking the best plan might be to just keep the sort of plans that I have there. And I actually see that my friend is calling me. I'm going to look forward to calling him back here, but I'm going to finish this. Fly into Shanghai, spend 6 days there. I'll have to change my hotel and flight to sort of leave a day early, but then fly to Hong Kong because I think I might satisfy the conditions, right? If going to Hong Kong, it's I think, I don't fully understand this stuff, but I think Hong Kong is fully autonomous. It's considered a different country within China. So I think if I fly from Shanghai to Hong Kong, I can technically enter Shanghai for 144 hours and maybe not even have to do the visa thing at all. So, oh, wow. I can actually see that my friend's leaving me a voicemail and it's like showing me the text. Anyway, I'll look forward to calling them right back. But, yeah. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I mean, I know we normally sit here for an hour, but, maybe I'm thinking, I don't know. I'm just kind of filling time here. I'm not really sure I have much else to say. I do this thing in therapy sometimes where maybe like once or twice a year, but we'll kind of be coming to the end of a natural lull in the conversation, and I'll look up and there's like 10 minutes left in our appointment, and I'll say like, I normally don't do this, but I really feel like this is a natural place to stop. I'm not really sure I have much else to say, and if it's okay with you, I think I'll just kind of end early. And that feels like a weird thing for me to do because I sort of enter therapy with this mindset that like it's like going to the gym and like working out, which is like, well, one, I mean, it's exorbitantly expensive. And my therapist, understandably, I'm not trying to give this person a hard time, but they raise their rates every once in a while. And so they told me, oh, when I come back, their rates are going to be increased. And that's great. And of course, there's a fiduciary element to therapy, and obviously my therapist deserves to make a living and they have bills that need to get paid, and so I totally understand that. but therapy is exorbitantly expensive. And so other than my rent, it is my highest expenditure by far in my budget. But why did I bring that up? Oh, yeah. So there's a part of you that says, well, you should get your, and by the way, it's not even an hour. It's 50 minutes. Like you should get your full 50 minutes of therapy if you're going to be paying that much. And yet sometimes, like it's like, work will say this sometimes. They're like, hey, we're looking for people to come in on Saturday and we'll pay time and a half. And it's like, that's great. And if I was really in dire straits for the money, that might be a perfect opportunity for me. But there's so many things that people try to compensate you with money. And you say, hey, I would actually pay you that amount to not do it, actually. If that was already on the books and you said, hey, actually, we're looking for people to stay home, you would just have to pay us time and a half. There's a lot of people who might take that offer. So, anyway, what was I trying to say? Yeah, so sometimes in therapy, I'll sort of cut things short. And I don't know, I'm trying to go through the Rolodex in my mind and saying if there's anything that I can bring up that might take us over the finish line here, or if I should end early. Yeah, maybe just the last things to say would be, I'm really excited to be going. I look forward to taking a lot of video. I've done this thing. I hope it doesn't sound, I don't know. I can't think of the word, lecherous maybe or something. But when I was in Taiwan over the summer, I did a lot of dating. And while I'm not a serial dater, I'm not a womanizer or anything like that. The reason that was such a big, important part of my time in Taiwan, I mean, I think I went on I forget what the number was exactly, maybe 11 dates with 9 different women. The reason that was so valuable, aside from it's nice to have new friends and companionship and all that sort of stuff, is but for those experiences, there would have been so much about Taipei and my experience there that I would have completely missed out on. It's just for people who have traveled, you can probably attest to this. There's something completely different between doing all the sightseeing and the tourism. This is how it all comes together, folks. It's like The Witness. It's one thing to just kind of enter a world and see what is apparent and do what you're supposed to do. And you can go to Taipei and you can see all the sights and eat all the food and you're going to have a wonderful fucking time. There's no doubt about it. It's going to be great. And yet, if you have a local person who can just take you to one different place or just kind of change the relief of your perception of the environment to just kind of look a little bit deeper, or to turn a corner that you never would have turned, or to point out a detail that you never would have recognized otherwise, the world just kind of opens up, And so, of course, everyone I sort of met was, relatively good. Some people were better than others, but everybody was friendly. And also, in Taiwan, I'm sure casual hookups and stuff happen all the time, but in my very personal experience, the overarching dating culture there is people really look for, they approach it like making new friends. And my sense is that, relationships are really predicated on is this somebody I can spend time with? Is this somebody who I could see as a friend first? And they move at a much slower pace. So although I did a lot of dating, it wasn't like I was a Lothario or something like that. You're really just hanging out with meeting people and hanging out with them. And in preparation for that, I've been on the dating apps and that sort of stuff. And I've connected with a lot of really cool people. One person in particular who I'm looking forward to seeing. But it's the conversation is great and people are friendly. And yeah, I'm just really looking forward to going back there and not only seeing my friend, Gabe, who I'm sure you'll hear more about, who's there currently studying, someone I went to Middlebury with. I'm looking forward to seeing him and having a great time. I'm looking forward to revisiting a lot of the places that I went to. But I'm also really excited about meeting new people and having new experiences and, seeing what it's like maybe to live abroad potentially. Not for the long term. I don't see myself being an expat or anything like that. But, if I'm going to be living for 2 years in Shanghai, in that part of the world, hopefully doing more traveling, I was sort of saying, I got into the language study because of my interest in Chinese philosophy and wanting to read the sort of classical Chinese texts in the original language. And although that is still somewhat of a goal of mine, meaning in grad school, my major will be Chinese philosophy. It will be an English taught program, but we'll be reading in the classical Chinese, and I will get that. And over the course of my life, I can develop that facility. My absolutely favorite part about the language study has been the places that it's taken me. So when I go to Taiwan, although I'll be enrolled in a language school, I will give it the attention that I want to give it, but the grades don't matter. And really, it's just a launching point for me to return to Taiwan and experience that place and the culture and the rest of the island and all that sort of stuff. So, it's interesting. The last time that I went there, we were not connected. I was not doing this. I had not been doing this for a while. And it was really nice to have that. A lot of the experiences that I had, right? So when we last disconnected, I was ending my previous relationship, which I'm trying to think now, was 2.5 years ago. God, time flies. And, we only reconnected a couple months ago. So I was living, all the experiences I had in those 2 years, I was having in relative isolation. As I've gotten older, I'm really not active on social media. And so, but that was really nice. It's like I wasn't living for other people. I wasn't worried about broadcasting my experience to other people. I was just having this kind of siloed, kind of insulated, wonderful, formative experience. And it sounds bizarre because I am also on the cusp of saying like, oh, I'm going to start doing these video vlogging or something like that, and documenting my experience through this personal journal. I plan to still continue doing that. But for me, that feels very different than social media. And you may have different feelings about that, but it feels very different to me than like kind of posting your Instagram stories. Although I still have other creative aspirations, this is kind of my creative outlet for now. And, I don't pretend that I put a lot of, I don't invest a lot of creative thought into this, but I feel like showing up for an hour once a week and just kind of venting my thoughts, and trying to be honest and earnest and speak my mind is a type of creativity. And to me, a little bit different than, just posting your best photos to Instagram and looking for likes and stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, not a lot of people listen to this anymore. And, I don't interact really with the people who do listen. So this is just kind of a one-way broadcast system for me to sort of express myself. And I will probably be approaching the videos in much the same way. But I look forward to that, I guess to summarize, what I'm trying to say is, yeah, I just feel like I'm on the cusp of another growth experience in my life. And especially as I get older, I had this long sort of conversation with my therapist in our last session, since I won't be seeing them for 3.5 months, where it was bizarre, but we ended up, like this, I sort of show up and start talking about whatever comes up. I was talking about death and mortality, but I'm only thinking about that now because I think, especially as you get older, I mean, I'm 38. I'll be, I'll be 40 before long. If I'm, God willing, I'm halfway through my life. Plenty more life to live, I hope. But the point is that as you get older, your mortality becomes very real. And so I'm on the cusp of this great experience of like going to Taiwan for a few months and potentially going to Shanghai for a couple of years. And you never know how long your life is. You never know how much time you have left. And, when you're younger, especially me, I feel like I have a lot of thoughts on this, but sometimes one lane of my thinking is I wasted so much time, and a lot of that was predicated on I was dealing with my own mental health stuff. And there was a lot of things that were like keeping my world small that felt like they were outside of my control. But now that I'm free of a lot of those stuff, that stuff, I really feel like I just feel really blessed and really grateful and really fortunate, that I have the, forget, traveling and like buying a laptop and all that sort of stuff, that really my circumstances are really literally afford me and figuratively afford me the opportunity to have these types of experiences. And I think I'm, whereas before going to Taiwan, I was terrified because I wasn't sure what I was going to encounter. Having been there, I'm really looking forward to it, knowing what the experience could be potentially. So I'm grateful to be doing that. And and I look forward to sharing it with more people. So anyway, I wasn't sure we were going to have a lot to say, but look at us. Lo and behold, we've crossed the finish line as per usual. So with that, I'll just say, wish me a safe journey. And if you listened up to this point, I appreciate that. And I look forward to sharing more with you. So I'm going to spend the rest of the day packing up. And I will just say, Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. And ciao for now.